Dear friends, take a moment and ask yourself this question. If someone whispered in your ear today, "I have the single best, most valuable piece of financial advice you will ever hear in your lifetime," what would you hope it to be? Some might think, surely it must be the secret to doubling a bank account. Others may believe, it's a magical investment strategy that multiplies wealth tenfold. And still, many would simply hope it's the formula to never run out of money before life runs out. But the truth is, the best financial advice I want to share with you today isn't found in numbers, in the stock market, or in an insurance contract. It lies in something far more simple: the way we live, and the way we use money to nurture peace of mind. The biggest worry after 60 is not illness, it's money. A survey from the National Council on Aging in the United States found that 6 out of 10 people over 60 constantly worry about whether they'll have enough money to last through their lifetime. That number is not just cold data. It's a sigh in the middle of the night, a distant stare at a savings passbook, a wave of unease when holding a hospital bill. Perhaps you felt it too, opening the mailbox, seeing the bill for medication, and thinking quietly, how much longer can I keep this up? Or that hesitation when you want to buy your grandchild a birthday gift but wonder, will I still have enough to cover next month's insurance? A story of 2 men. Let me tell you a story. George and David, both 72, once worked together. George saved over $500,000 by retirement. He owned a home, a car, and had investments. Yet every night, he lay awake worrying about the stock market dropping, about surprise medical bills, about his children overspending. For him, holding on to money was more important than living. The result? He had money but little joy and restless sleep. David, on the other hand, had only about $180,000 in savings and social security. He wasn't wealthy, but he lived with ease. He spent below his means, took small trips with his wife, shared a little with his community, and most importantly, knew how to pause and enjoy each day. When I asked, he smiled and said, "I'm not as wealthy as George, but I'm far more at peace than he is." And there you see it. True wealth is not measured by what sits in a bank account, but by the peace carried in one's heart. Lessons from the generation before us. Money is a tool, not the destination. Our parents lived simply. Vegetables from the garden, fish from the pond, patched clothes that lasted for years. They never thought about financial investments or compound returns. Yet they endured, raised families, and left us a great inheritance, not of money, but of love and character. That is the reminder: money is only a tool, never the final goal. Money can buy medicine, but not health. Money can buy a bed, but not sleep. Money can buy flowers, but not love. If I could give you just one piece of advice today, it would be this: live within your means and invest in peace of mind. That means don't chase owning more, but learn how to live with less wisely. Don't try to prove you're wealthy. Prove you are at peace. And don't spend money just to live another day. Use it to live more deeply in each day. The paradox of money. The irony is this: people with more money are not always free, while those with less are not always deprived. Many wealthy people become prisoners to money. They live to guard it, to worry over it, to fear losing it. Meanwhile, those who know enough live free because they don't serve money, they let money serve them. Here lies the real truth. Financial freedom is not about how much you have. It is about having enough to live peacefully without being haunted by fear. Before moving on, let me pause to ask you, what is your greatest financial worry after age 60? Leave a comment because your story might help someone else feel less alone in this journey. And if you agree with the message, money is not just for spending but for bringing peace, please hit subscribe. Here, we don't just talk about money. We talk about how to live more meaningfully, more joyfully, in the days we have left. In the minutes ahead, we'll explore together why older adults often feel anxious about money, the most common financial mistakes after 60, and the simple but powerful principles to live peacefully with what you already have. But first, remember this. The best financial advice is not about how to earn more money, but about how to live peacefully with the money you already have. Why does money worry grow with age? Have you ever wondered why, the older we get, the more anxious we feel about money? Some spend a lifetime saving, enter retirement with a decent sum, and yet still feel uneasy, still haunted by a sense of not enough. This fear has many roots, and it is completely natural. After 60, health is no longer the same. Every doctor's visit, every new prescription feels like a silent weight added on. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), 85% of Americans over 65 live with at least one chronic condition, and average medical expenses exceed $11,000 per person each year. That number makes many seniors think, if I live another 20 years, will the money last? Healthcare bills and the fear of sudden illness plant a constant worry in the heart. When we were younger, each paycheck brought comfort. But after retirement, income often comes only from pensions and social security. And the hard truth is this. According to the Social Security Administration, the average retiree in America receives about $1,900 a month. Meanwhile, the costs of living from utilities and groceries to fuel and healthcare continue to climb. That gap leaves us in a state of uncertainty. The fear of being a burden. One of the greatest fears among older adults is becoming a burden to their children. We don't want to see the weary eyes of a child driving us to the hospital. We don't want to hear the sigh when they must pay an unexpected bill. That fear drives many to tighten their belts, to live sparingly. Even when they have money, they hesitate to use it. For many, memories of hardship remain sharp. We once saved every penny for rainy days. That habit became ingrained, and it follows us into old age. Even with more resources now, the fear of shortage lingers. Turn on the TV or scroll on a phone, and we're flooded with news about inflation, housing markets, rising prices. Every financial headline is like a needle pricking the mind. Everything costs more, will I keep up? In a fast-changing world, seniors often feel left behind and insecure. So you see, financial worry in later life is not about greed. It's about wanting stability, not being a burden, and being able to care for ourselves. And that's why the advice we're about to focus on, live within your means, invest in peace of mind, becomes even more important. The core financial advice, live within your means, invest in peace. Now that we understand why money weighs so heavily on seniors' minds, let's pause for the most important advice of all, the one that could reshape how you live the rest of your life. Live within your means and invest in peace of mind. When people hear live within your means, They often think it means extreme sacrifice, giving up joy. But that's not it. Living within your means means knowing exactly how much income you have, using it wisely, not out of habit or comparison, accepting that happiness doesn't require luxury. For example, instead of financing a brand new car, buy a reliable used one that saves fuel. Instead of eating out 4 or 5 times a week, cook at home with fresh produce cheaper and better for health. That's not self-limitation, it's self-liberation from pressure. When young, we invested for profit. Stocks, real estate, businesses. But after 60, the smartest investments are no longer in markets, but in ourselves. Health, relationships, and inner peace. Invest in health. Spend on clean food. Exercise, regular checkups. A study in the Journal of Health Economics found that those who invested in nutrition and activity reduced healthcare costs by an average of 30% in their final decade of life. Invest in experiences and memories. A trip with your grandchildren, a warm evening with friends. These are treasures no bank account can match. Invest in relationships. Instead of clinging tightly to every dollar, share a little with community or simply give in meaningful ways. Science shows that generosity and social connection extend both lifespan and happiness. To make it simple, picture 3 financial baskets. Basket 1. Essentials, food, housing, utilities. About 50%. Basket 2. Health and peace, medical, nutrition, insurance. About 30%. Basket 3. Experiences and giving. Travel, family, community. About 20%. When money is clearly divided, we don't panic about shortages. Every dollar has its purpose and place. There is a saying worth remembering: the rich person is not the one who has much, but the one who knows enough. When we live within our means, we learn to feel enough with what we already have. When we invest in peace, we realize true wealth isn't in the account, it's in the soul. And in that moment, every dollar we spend is no longer just a cost, it's the purchase of serenity. So you see, this core financial advice is not complicated. It doesn't require becoming an investment expert or having millions. It simply requires knowing yourself, living within your means, and prioritizing peace of mind. And to close, let me share a true story of a 75-year-old man, not wealthy by any standard, but who discovered the secret to feeling richer than millions of others. A story that will show you peace of mind can begin with the simplest of choices. People often say, one real story carries more power than 1,000 theories. And today, I want to share with you the story of an American man. His name is John, and he is 75 years old. John is not a millionaire nor a famous investor. He spent his entire life working as an engineer in a small factory in Ohio. His salary was enough to live on, but never extravagant. By the time he retired, his savings added up to about $250,000, along with monthly Social Security benefits. By American standards of wealth, that amount was modest. But what surprised people was not how much he had, but how he chose to live with it. John followed a very simple principle he called the 70-30 rule. 70% of his monthly income went to essentials: housing, utilities, groceries, medication. 20% was set aside for emergencies, unexpected medical costs, or sudden events. The final 10% he gave away, and sometimes to help a struggling friend, sometimes to donate to a local charity. He often said, "When I give away 10%, I don't lose anything at all. On the contrary, I feel richer." What's remarkable is that John never compared himself to neighbors or friends. When a neighbor bought a new car, he continued driving his 10-year-old one. When friends boasted of investing in real estate, he smiled and said, "Mate, my investments are in good sleep, happy dinners with my wife, and the health that lets me walk the park every morning." And the result? John remained healthy, clear-minded, and joyful with his family, while many with 10 times his wealth still lived in constant worry. The lesson from John's life is clear. True wealth does not lie in your bank balance, but in how you allocate your money. John never let money dictate his life. He used it as a tool to live simply, to prepare for uncertainty, and to share kindness. And that, perhaps, is the best financial advice one can receive. If John's story made you reflect, I'd like to invite you to share something. What financial lesson have you learned from your parents, your grandparents, or your own journey in later years? Write it in the comments, because your story might become the guiding light for someone else. And so, we've just heard John's story, a living proof that peace does not depend on how much you own, but on how you live with it. Now, let's move on to the financial mistakes many people over 60 often fall into, and most importantly, how to avoid repeating them. After 60, it's no longer about earning more, it's about keeping and using wisely. Yet many unintentionally make mistakes that turn old age heavier instead of peaceful. Let's look at some common pitfalls, so if you recognize yourself in them, you can make adjustments starting today. Mistake 1. Believing money is safest when sitting in the bank. In reality, inflation silently eats away at savings every single day. 20 years ago, $100 could buy a full basket of groceries. Today, that same $100 barely buys half. The mistake is not in saving, but in saving without a safe investment plan. Even in later years, there are low-risk options: bonds, certificates of deposit, or retirement funds. If you don't invest at all, you're simply watching your money lose value over time. Mistake 2. Ignoring healthcare costs. According to Fidelity Investments, an average retired American couple at age 65 will need more than $315,000 just for healthcare throughout their remaining years. Yet many people delay buying supplemental health insurance or skip it altogether, only to face soaring premiums later. When illness strikes, a lifetime of savings can disappear in months. This mistake not only brings stress to you, but also becomes a burden on your children. Mistake 3. Sacrificing your security for your children. Out of love, many parents withdraw their entire savings to help a child buy a home, start a business, or pay off debt. But as noble as it sounds, giving up your own financial safety is a dangerous mistake. Too often, children face risks, lose the money, and the parents are left struggling, dependent, and vulnerable. It's a tragedy no one wishes for. Mistake 4. Spending retirement money too quickly. Some, after receiving their pension or savings, think, now it's time to enjoy. They buy a new car, travel luxuriously, shop freely. But within a few years, their balance shrinks fast, and they suddenly realize, life is long, but money is short. This is a common error, spending like you're still 40, when in reality, you're 70. Mistake 5. Avoiding financial conversations with family. Many seniors keep silent, afraid of worrying or being judged by their children. But that silence can lead to misunderstandings, even disputes later. The truth is, the sooner you're transparent, the easier it is to plan together. One honest conversation can prevent years of conflict. If you've seen yourself in any of these mistakes, don't worry, no one is perfect. Share in the comments, which mistake did you once make, and what lesson did you learn? Your experience may become the compass for someone else. You see, financial mistakes after 60 rarely come from lack of money. They come from lack of preparation. And to prepare better in the next section, I'll share how to use money wisely in old age simple principles that can make you feel safer and freer every single day. Dear friends, we've just gone through the most common financial mistakes after 60. So the question is, how can we use money wisely so later life is not just enough to survive, but truly peaceful and fulfilling? The answer lies in reordering our priorities. When money is directed to the right places, it becomes a source of health, love, and joy. One simple but powerful method is the 3-3-3 principle, dividing money into 3 clear parts. Part 1: Essentials: food, housing, medicine, utilities. The foundation of stability. Part 2: health and peace: annual checkups, supplemental insurance, good nutrition, and activities that bring peace of mind like yoga, meditation, or even a picnic with friends. Part 3: experiences and giving, often overlooked. But this is the true flavor of life. A short trip with a family, a small gift for a grandchild, or a contribution to your community. When money is distributed this way, you gain peace of mind, knowing essentials are covered, while also feeling joy. Because money is not just for keeping, it's for living and giving. There's a saying worth remembering: if you don't spend on health today, you'll spend 10 times more on sickness tomorrow. After 60, the smartest investment is not luxury goods, it's health. A clean meal, a good pair of walking shoes, an annual checkup. These are the highest return investments because they buy you more time and more healthy days. We are easily tempted: a new phone, or a shiny car. But ask yourself, will this bring lasting happiness, or just a thrill for a few days? On the other hand, a family gathering, a picnic with grandchildren, or a small course to learn something new, those joys can stay with you for years. Spending on memories, not just material, is always the wiser choice. And no matter what, you should keep an emergency fund equal to 6 to 12 months of living expenses. This fund keeps you steady when the unexpected happens. Illness, home repairs, even final expenses. Knowing you're prepared allows you to sleep better and live lighter. Many older adults overspend not from need but from comparison. My neighbor bought a new TV. Maybe I should too. My friend went to Europe. Why not me? But those comparisons only exhaust us. Using money wisely means knowing clearly what truly brings you happiness, not what brings others admiration. So, spending wisely after 60 is not just about budgeting. It's about choosing to let money serve joy and peace. And in the next section, I'll share a deeper truth. Don't let money control your emotions, because often it is not the lack of money, but the worry about money that steals peace from our later years. Throughout our working years, we often measured value in dollars. How much we earned, how much we saved, what kind of home we owned. But after 60, When work is behind us and income is fixed, many of us still carry that same habit, letting money dictate our emotions day by day. And this, sadly, is one of the biggest reasons peace slips away in old age. Take Mary, 68 years old. She has more than $400,000 in savings. Yet every night she lies awake, restless. She worries that if the market falls, her money will lose value. She worries that hospital costs will rise. She worries her children might face hardship and she will have to step in. One day she confided, "I'm not short of money, but I'm short of peace of mind." Mary's story is not unusual. It shows us a truth. Money can't buy restful sleep, and it can't buy inner calm. Here lies the paradox. Many spend their whole lives working for money, only to spend retirement worrying about protecting it. Instead of using money as a tool, we let it become the master controlling every emotion. Happy when the balance rises, anxious when it falls. But our later years should not be spent counting pennies in fear. They should be years of ease, of savoring life, of freedom. The Japanese have a wise saying, "Happiness doesn't come from having everything. It comes from knowing when enough is enough. When we know enough, we are free." A simple family meal is richer than a lavish but lonely banquet. A sturdy pair of walking shoes is more valuable than a luxury watch sitting in a case. A good night's sleep is worth more than hundreds of thousands of dollars. To know enough means this: not letting money dictate our joy or sorrow, but allowing ourselves to govern our own emotions. Researchers at Harvard conducted a study on happiness that lasted more than 75 years. Their conclusion: money plays only a small role in lasting happiness. The most important factors are relationships and inner peace. That means if we let money control our hearts, we will always be anxious. But if we learn to use money to nurture peace, we will live longer and happier. Friends, money can be a companion, but don't let it become the jailer of your mind. Remember this: money does not define your worth. Money does not measure your family's love. Money is only a tool. Happiness is a choice. So don't let money control your emotions. Let it serve your peace. True wealth after 60, more than just money. When we hear the word assets, most of us think of houses, land, savings accounts, or stocks. But after 60, if we define assets only in terms of money, we will always feel short. So let's broaden the definition. True wealth isn't always locked in a vault. It lives in everyday life. There's a saying, a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, a sick person has only one. If you can still walk a few laps around the park, cook a meal with your own hands, or hear your grandchild's laughter, those are priceless assets. Money can buy medicine, but it can't restore lost health. In youth, we traded time for money. In old age, we often spend money to buy back a little time. But after 60, the most precious thing is not the balance in our account. It's the days we can still live strong and clear-minded. Each morning, when the sunlight filters through the window, when you hear birds singing outside, that is the most beautiful interest life pays us. Harvard's 75-year study proved it again. The key to happiness and long life isn't wealth, but close relationships. Family, friends, love. If you still have someone to call, a hand to hold, a dinner table to gather around, congratulations. You already hold a fortune that no millionaire can guarantee. Houses will age, money will be spent. But warm memories, words of encouragement, and the embraces you give your children and grandchildren. That is the true inheritance. One day, when we are gone, our families may not remember how much money we left, but they will remember this: they loved us deeply. So real wealth after 60 is not a number, it is health to see another sunrise. It is time to savor each moment. It is family and friends, so you're never alone. It is love that fills each day with meaning. Viewed this way, I believe we are richer than we ever thought. A final reminder: we've walked a long road together in today's message. We talked about money worries after 60, the common mistakes, the smarter ways to spend, and a broader, more human view of true wealth. And now, allow me to leave you with the most important advice of all. Live within your means and invest in peace of mind. Yes, money is necessary, no one denies that. But money is a vehicle, not the destination. It can buy medicine, but not health. It can build a house, but not a home. It can provide comfort, but not inner peace. So the best financial advice is not make as much as possible, but use what you already have to live peacefully, healthily, and joyfully each day. One day, when we look back, we will realize wealth is not how many digits are in the account. It's how many smiles gather at the table, how many times you still hear the words grandma, grandpa, mum, dad, and how many moments you truly lived. Friends, aging does not mean being powerless before money. In fact, this is when we can finally choose to live wisely with it, knowing enough, sharing enough, and using it to nurture health, relationships, and peace. And perhaps that is the greatest form of wealth we can ever attain. If you found today's message meaningful, share it, so more seniors can receive the best financial advice. And don't forget to subscribe, because here we don't just talk about money. We talk about living well, living joyfully, and living meaningfully after 60. Let me close with this thought. The greatest wealth is not in your wallet, but in a peaceful heart and the love you leave behind. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.